Once upon a time, in a forest where shadows danced and whispered secrets, a restless wind stirred the pines, carrying the scent of damp earth, and something darker, an omen that Arya had learned to trust instinctively. She moved through the undergrowth with silent precision, every step calculated, every sense alert. The sun had begun its descent behind the mountains, casting long shadows that twisted and shifted with the evening light. Arya's mission was simple yet perilous: scout the perimeter of the Silverfang Pack's territory and ensure no rival forces were attempting a covert incursion. She carried a small satchel of essential supplies, her dagger strapped at her side, and a keen awareness that even a single misstep could cost her life. If you love stories that pull you into shadowed forests and thrilling adventures, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow for more epic tales unfolding in the world of alphas, omegas, and destiny. A sudden rustle ahead froze her in place. She crouched, eyes scanning the shadows, ears tuned to the forest's subtle rhythms. Branches snapped, deliberate, measured. Not the careless movements of wildlife. Her pulse quickened, but she remained calm. The intruder was skilled, cautious, and likely armed. Slowly, she crept closer, using the underbrush to mask her approach. Then she saw him. Kale, the alpha of the Silverfang Pack, was surrounded. 3 rogue warriors had ambushed him in a clearing. He had fought fiercely, but one had him pinned to the ground, dagger aimed at his side, while the others circled, intent on ensuring he could not escape. Arya's mind raced. She could not let him die, not here, not now. The survival of the pack depended on him. And despite their limited acquaintance, she understood something fundamental. Kale's strength, his leadership, his life, were the pillars upon which the Silverfangs depended. She acted without hesitation. A low whistle, a signal the attackers had not anticipated, was followed by a cloud of dust and debris kicked from the forest floor. The rogue warriors flinched, and that was all the opening she needed. Arya's dagger flashed through the air. One intruder fell to the side with a grunt, another staggered back, and Kale seized the moment to break free, rolling to his feet with grace and power. Together, they fought with a fluid coordination neither had expected, a synchronization born from instinct and necessity. Within moments, the attackers lay incapacitated or fleeing, and the clearing fell silent except for the sound of heavy breathing. Kale regarded Arya, chest heaving, eyes sharp and assessing. "You intervened," he said, voice low, measured. "Most would have fled." "I couldn't," Arya replied, scanning the area for any remaining threats. "Your survival is not just yours to protect. The pack depends on you." Kale's eyes narrowed slightly, a mixture of surprise and admiration. Few had spoken to him with such directness, acknowledging not only his role but the weight it carried. "You have skill," he observed, gesturing toward the dagger at her side. "And courage." Arya shrugged lightly, her stance still alert. "I have training, awareness, and necessity. Courage is secondary to survival and strategy." He studied her, evaluating not just her physical ability but her demeanor. Calm, precise, unflinching under pressure. This was not a reckless fighter. This was someone who calculated, observed, and acted with purpose. "Then you saved me," Kale said finally, a faint edge of gravity in his tone. "And I will remember that. Do you understand what that means in the context of the pack?" Arya's eyes met his steadily. "I understand. And I do not seek recognition. My actions were for necessity, not reward." Kale inclined his head slightly, a gesture of respect. "Even so, debts are not easily forgotten. I will protect those who stand for the pack, especially those who demonstrate insight and courage as you have." A subtle shift occurred in the air. It was not affection, not yet, but trust, respect, and acknowledgement forming a fragile bond in the aftermath of shared danger. "You are not yet known to the pack," Kale continued, his gaze scanning the forest as if anticipating further threats. "And yet you acted decisively, without hesitation. That is rare." "I do not need the pack's acknowledgement," Arya replied. "I act because it is necessary. Lives are at stake. That is enough." Kale considered her words, the weight of them evident in his expression. "Perhaps. But necessity often reveals character. You have shown yours today." The sun dipped below the horizon, casting the clearing into twilight. Arya moved to step back, ready to continue her patrol, but Kale called after her. "Wait." She stopped, glancing over her shoulder. You will not be ignored, he said quietly, his tone steady. I may not yet know the full measure of your skill, but I will ensure that your role in protecting the pack does not go unrecognized. Tonight, you have saved not only my life but the future of the Silverfangs. Arya's eyes narrowed, wary yet attentive. And what is it you intend to do? Observe, learn, and protect, Kale replied. You have proven that you act with foresight and skill. That is rare. I will ensure that you are never placed in a position where your abilities are wasted, or worse, where your life is jeopardized without purpose. Consider this a promise. A distant howl echoed through the forest, a reminder of the lurking dangers that surrounded them. Kale's expression hardened, eyes scanning the tree line. Quote, This is only the beginning, he said. The pack faces threats not just from the outside but within. And those who stand vigilant, as you have, will become essential. Arya studied him carefully. The Alpha carried the weight of leadership in every line of his stance, in every measured word. There was no room for error in his life or the lives of those who followed him. And yet, there was a promise, a subtle acknowledgement that her efforts, her vigilance, would not be ignored. I will not fail, she said softly, though with unwavering determination. Neither for you nor for the pack. Threats are to be met with preparation, insight, and action. That is my role. Kale's eyes softened ever so slightly, a rare vulnerability hidden beneath layers of authority. Then we shall see it fulfilled. And know this, those who act with courage and foresight are never alone under my watch. Night fell fully over the forest, wrapping them in darkness filled with distant howls, rustling leaves, and the subtle hum of life unseen. Arya and Kale stood side by side, not in closeness of comfort, but in silent understanding, a partnership forged in the immediacy of survival, the shared awareness of danger, and the respect of skill meeting skill. Move carefully, Kale said finally. The forest is alive with more than shadows. Every step counts. I am always aware, Arya replied. That is how I survive. Kale nodded, a quiet acknowledgement of her prowess. Then we begin with trust. I will protect those who protect the pack. And tonight, that includes you. Arya inclined her head, her eyes returning to the forest. There was no warmth, no softness, only clarity, purpose, and resolve. Yet beneath that clarity was the faint recognition of a bond forming, unspoken but unmistakable. The night stretched onward, and they parted silently, Arya returning to her patrol, Kale moving to secure the clearing. But the echo of the moment lingered. A promise had been made, a trust established, and the first step in a journey that would bind Alpha and Protector had begun. The forest whispered around them, alive with unseen threats, but for now, the danger had been met, and survival, and the fragile trust between them, had prevailed. The morning sun filtered through the thick canopy of the forest, casting dappled patterns across the forest floor. Arya moved silently among the trees, her eyes scanning every shadow, every rustle, every subtle disturbance in the undergrowth. After the ambush the previous night, the forest seemed even more alive, as if aware of the tension that hung in the air. Kale followed at a measured distance, his presence steady and reassuring. The Alpha's gaze was sharp, always alert, but there was something in his expression now, acknowledgement. Respect. A recognition that Arya's skills had saved him, and in doing so, had preserved the Silverfang pack itself. You move differently from most scouts, Kale observed quietly, his voice barely more than a whisper carried on the wind. Every step deliberate, every sound considered. It is disciplined. Arya glanced at him without turning her head. Discipline and awareness are survival tools, she replied. Without them, one does not last long in the forest, or in battle. He nodded, clearly impressed. You've saved my life, yet your focus remains on the mission, not on recognition. That is rare. Most would allow ego to cloud judgment. I do not act for recognition, she said evenly. I act for necessity. The pack's survival depends on those who are vigilant and capable. That is the measure I follow. Kale studied her, the quiet authority in her words striking a chord within him. Then I must ensure you are never placed in danger without purpose. Your skills must be utilized wisely. Arya's lips pressed into a thin line. Purpose is determined by necessity, not by a single Alpha's directive. I will act where I see need, and not where I am ordered. That is how survival is ensured. A faint smile tugged at Kale's expression, though his eyes remained serious. "And yet," he said, "your actions have now shaped the fate of the Silverfang pack. You acted precisely where necessity demanded it. That is more than guidance, it is leadership in its own right." Arya allowed herself a brief moment of reflection. The forest was calm, almost deceptively so, and yet every instinct told her that peace was temporary. "Leadership is responsibility," she said quietly. "It is not about control or recognition. It is about ensuring the survival of those who rely on you." Kale's gaze softened ever so slightly. "Then you understand the weight of what you have done. And why I must watch over you as I would any protector vital to the pack's survival." Their path led them to a small clearing near a crystal-clear stream, where Arya had previously marked strategic points for observation and defense. She knelt to inspect the tracks left by the rogue warriors, studying the impressions and noting subtle anomalies that could indicate the presence of others. Kale crouched beside her, his eyes tracing her meticulous movements. "You notice things that most overlook," he said quietly. "A broken twig, a displaced stone, the faint scent of passage. It is precise. Precision is survival," Arya replied, her fingers brushing lightly over the marks in the dirt. "Without it, danger is unseen until it is too late." Kale's expression grew contemplative. "I have led the pack for years, yet even I am reminded that vigilance is never absolute. You have shown me that. And in doing so, you have earned more than gratitude, you have earned trust." Arya's eyes met his, unwavering. "Trust is earned through consistency, observation, and action. Not by promises or titles. That is the rule I follow, always." A sudden rustle from the trees alerted them both. Arya drew her dagger instinctively, moving to intercept. Kale's hand rested near his sword, his senses attuned to every shift in the forest. A lone wolf emerged, its fur mottled and dark, eyes cautious but not hostile. Arya studied it for a moment, noting its movements, then relaxed slightly. "It is not a threat," she murmured. Kale nodded. "Even so, your caution ensures no surprise is underestimated. That is why you survive, and why the pack benefits from your presence." They continued along the forest path, Arya leading the way through dense underbrush and twisted roots. Every step was a lesson in awareness, every pause a calculated observation. Kale followed, his presence steady, relying on her guidance as much as his own instincts. By midday, they reached a vantage point overlooking the edge of the Silverfang territory. From here, scouts could monitor the valley below, watching for rival packs, intruders, or signs of natural danger. Arya knelt to set markers, noting subtle changes in the terrain that could influence movement or concealment. Kale watched her work, admiration evident in his gaze. "You do more than fight," he said quietly. "You prepare, you plan, you anticipate. That is why I will protect you, not merely for your life, but because your insight is essential to every decision I make as Alpha." Arya's expression remained calm, though a flicker of acknowledgement passed through her eyes. Protection is necessary when one becomes integral to a larger strategy. I accept it only because it is aligned with necessity, not sentiment. "Sentiment is not the point," Kale replied, tone steady. "Utility, foresight, and trust. That is why you are here, beside me, beside the pack. And that is why I will not allow you to be harmed." They spent the afternoon scouting, mapping, and observing patterns of wildlife that often foreshadowed the movements of rival packs. Every detail was noted, every subtle change recorded. Arya's skill in interpreting signs, predicting actions, and devising strategies became clear not just to Kale, but to herself. She realized that the bond forming between them was not romantic in the traditional sense, it was strategic, mutual respect forged in shared survival and trust. As evening fell, they returned to the stronghold. Guards observed their return with quiet deference, aware that the pair had returned from dangerous territory unscathed. Kale briefed the council on the potential threats and patterns Arya had identified, each observation shaping decisions about patrols, defenses, and contingency plans. Arya remained at Kale's side, silent but attentive, observing reactions, noting alliances, and assessing readiness. The Alpha spoke to her occasionally, quietly acknowledging her contributions, reinforcing the bond that had begun the previous night in the clearing. When the council meeting concluded, Kale led Arya to the battlements. The moon had risen, casting silver light over the stronghold and the surrounding forest. "You are proving indispensable," Kale said, his voice quiet, almost contemplative. "Not only because you saved my life, but because you see what others cannot. You anticipate, you guide, you protect. And in doing so, you have become essential to the pack's survival." Arya's eyes scanned the forest, noting faint signs of movement in the distance. "Essentiality is defined by necessity, not acknowledgement," she replied. "I act where it is required. That is enough." Kale studied her, a faint respect softening his usual stern expression. "Even so, the pack, and I, recognize what you do. And I will ensure that your place beside me is acknowledged and protected. You are no longer just a scout or warrior, you are a guardian, a guide, a partner in survival." Arya considered his words, understanding their significance without needing sentiment. "Then we proceed with vigilance, strategy, and foresight. That is how survival is ensured." Kale nodded, placing a hand briefly on the stone of the battlement, a silent acknowledgement of unity. "Together, then. Every decision, every strategy, every threat faced. Together." Arya's gaze met his, unwavering. "Together. Always." The night stretched on, filled with distant howls, rustling leaves, and the quiet hum of life in the forest. But for the first time, Arya felt a sense of partnership, a bond forged not through romance, but through trust, shared survival, and mutual respect. She and Kale had survived the ambush, faced threats, and laid the foundation of a partnership that would shape the Silverfang pack for years to come. And as the moonlight bathed the forest, Arya understood one truth: survival was no longer hers alone to ensure. With Kale by her side, and her insight guiding his decisions, the pack was stronger, the territory safer, and the bond between Alpha and Protector had begun to solidify into something enduring, unshakable, and essential. The morning fog clung to the forest floor, curling around tree trunks and weaving between the roots like ghostly fingers. Arya moved through it with ease, her senses heightened, attuned to every sound, smell, and movement. The events of the ambush had left the Silverfang pack wary, their vigilance sharpened, and she knew that the forest held secrets, shadows waiting for the unwary, whispers of danger carried on the wind. Kale followed silently, his presence a calm anchor in the shifting mist. His eyes scanned the distance, ears attuned to every subtle sound, yet he relied on Arya's guidance as much as his own instincts. Their bond, formed in the crucible of the previous night's ambush, had shifted from cautious acknowledgement to a deep, strategic trust. "You've been quiet this morning," Kale said, voice low, almost merging with the mist. "Observing patterns?" Arya's eyes did not leave the forest path. "Patterns and anomalies," she replied. "Even minor changes can signal larger threats. A broken branch, a displaced stone, a faint scent on the wind, all can reveal an approaching danger." Kale nodded, clearly impressed. "And what do you sense now?" She tilted her head slightly, inhaling the crisp, damp air. "Something has passed through recently. A rival presence, perhaps scouts. They are cautious, leaving few traces. But they are here, and they are watching." Kale's eyes narrowed. "Scouts of another pack?" "Likely," Arya replied. "And their purpose is not merely observation. They are testing, probing, assessing our defenses. We must act carefully. Any misstep could reveal our readiness, or our weakness." They continued along the forest path, moving silently between the dense trees. Arya's awareness of the terrain, the shifting patterns of wind, and the subtle signs of recent movement allowed them to track the scouts without being detected. Every leaf bent underfoot, every bird startled into flight, every rustle of the undergrowth was catalogued, interpreted, and assessed. Suddenly, Arya halted, her hand raised. Kale froze beside her, eyes scanning the forest. "There," she whispered, pointing toward a shadow that moved with deliberate caution. Two figures emerged from the fog, their movements careful, eyes scanning for any sign of the Silverfangs. Kale's lips pressed into a thin line. "Rivals. They test us," Arya said. "And they are not alone. More may be hidden, observing from a distance. We must remain undetected until we understand their numbers and intentions." Together, they adjusted their positions, moving silently through the underbrush to observe without revealing themselves. Arya's strategy was meticulous, identifying likely positions, assessing weaknesses in formation, and noting subtle cues that indicated the scout's experience and discipline. Kale's voice was low but firm. "What is your plan?" "Observe first," Arya replied. "Learn their routines, their timing, their signals. Then, we act, not recklessly, but decisively. Their arrogance is their weakness. They underestimate vigilance paired with foresight." Hours passed in careful observation. The rival scouts moved methodically, marking the forest, testing natural choke points, and assessing potential ambush sites. Arya catalogued every detail, mentally. Mapping routes, noting natural advantages, and devising countermeasures. Kale watched her work, a mixture of admiration and quiet respect evident in his gaze. "Your precision is remarkable," he said. "Few could notice so many subtleties, let alone interpret them correctly." Arya allowed herself a brief nod. Attention to detail is survival. One missed clue, one overlooked movement, and a pack, or a life, can be lost. Vigilance is not optional, it is essential. As dusk approached, Arya and Kale withdrew to a concealed ridge overlooking the forest below. From this vantage, they could see more than the immediate clearing. They could observe potential routes of advance, likely staging points, and subtle signs of additional rivals attempting to remain unseen. "They are planning more than mere reconnaissance," Arya said quietly. "They test us tonight and may strike soon. We must fortify defenses, alert scouts, and anticipate possible entry points. Any vulnerability will be exploited." Kale nodded. "Then we prepare. Your insights will guide our strategy. We move not on fear, but on foresight." Returning to the stronghold, they convened a council of the pack's leaders. Arya presented her observations, her assessment precise and clear. Every potential threat was identified, every anomaly explained, and every precaution recommended. The council listened intently, many exchanging glances of surprise at the depth of her knowledge. Kale spoke afterward, reinforcing her recommendations, emphasizing that their approach would be measured, cautious, and proactive. By nightfall, patrols were adjusted according to Arya's suggestions, traps and alarm systems were enhanced, and scouts were deployed to monitor the most likely routes of attack. The Silverfang pack moved like a single organism, each member aware of their role, each decision informed by insight and preparation. Later, on the battlements, Kale joined Arya once more. The night was silent, save for the distant rustle of leaves and the occasional howl of wolves beyond the territory. "They will not strike blindly," Arya said, eyes scanning the shadows. "They have patience, cunning, and ambition. But patience is also our ally. We see, we prepare, we anticipate. And when the moment comes, we act decisively." Kale's gaze softened as he looked at her. "You are unlike anyone I have ever known. Courageous, perceptive, unwavering. You have earned more than trust, you have earned my promise. If you are ever threatened, I will ensure your safety, without hesitation." Arya's eyes met his, unflinching. "Then act wisely, Alpha. Protection is not merely about strength, it is about anticipation, awareness, and preparation. That is how survival is guaranteed." A distant howl echoed again, closer this time, signaling that their ALS had indeed moved, testing the pack's vigilance. Arya's expression remained calm, though her senses were on high alert. "They are here," she murmured. "But they underestimate us. They do not yet know the extent of our readiness." Kale's hand rested lightly on the stone of the battlement, a silent acknowledgement of the bond forming between them. "Then we show them what vigilance and unity mean. Together, we will protect the pack." Arya inclined her head slightly. "Together. Always." The night deepened, the forest alive with unseen threats, yet the Silverfang stronghold stood firm. Patrols moved silently, scouts observed with precision, and every precaution was taken to ensure that the pack remained secure. In the quiet moments, Arya reflected on the bond forming between herself and Kale. It was not one of romance in the conventional sense, but of mutual respect, trust, and shared purpose. They had faced danger together, saved lives together, and now navigated the first signs of a growing threat together. This bond, forged in action and necessity, was stronger than any simple sentiment. It was a partnership built on understanding, foresight, and unwavering commitment to survival, a bond that would define both their futures and the destiny of the Silverfang pack. As the first light of dawn approached, painting the forest in muted gold, Arya and Kale remained atop the battlements, vigilant, prepared, and united. The whispers of danger had grown louder, but they faced them not with fear, but with strategy, insight, and a bond that would not break. The forest was alive, the rivals were near, and the challenges ahead were many, but Arya and Kale had become an unshakable force, a combination of intellect, instinct, and unwavering loyalty. And for the first time, Arya felt a sense of certainty. Together, they could face any threat, overcome any danger, and ensure the survival of the pack. The dawn broke over the Silverfang stronghold, painting the stone walls in hues of gold and amber. The air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of pine and damp earth. Despite the beauty of the morning, Arya's senses were sharp, her focus unwavering. The ambush in the forest and the scouts of rival packs were not the only threats, the true trials often came from within. Kale walked beside her through the courtyard, his eyes scanning the assembled warriors. "We have external threats," he said quietly, "but sometimes the pack's greatest danger is disunity." Arya nodded, her gaze never leaving the faces of the guards and warriors who had gathered. "Trust and loyalty are fragile," she replied. "Without vigilance, even the strongest pack can fracture from internal strife. It is as dangerous as any enemy beyond our borders." Kale stopped near the central fountain, watching as two Ong warriors exchanged heated words over a seemingly trivial disagreement. Their gestures were sharp, tension evident in every movement. "It begins with small disputes," he said. "If left unchecked, they fester, grow, and divide. We must act with foresight." Arya stepped forward, her presence calm but authoritative. The murmuring ceased as the pack members turned to her. "Disputes must be addressed with reason, not emotion," she said evenly. "Every action within the pack affects survival, trust, and cohesion. A single fractured bond can jeopardize all of us." The two warriors looked at her, then at each other, realizing the weight of her words. Slowly, their expressions softened, and their disagreement was diffused with her guidance. Kale watched, clearly impressed. "You wield influence without force," he remarked. "Force is the last resort," Arya replied. "Leadership is not domination, it is direction, guidance, and fostering unity. The pack survives because its members act with trust, not fear." Later, in the strategy chamber, Kale convened a council meeting. Arya was present, her notes and observations laid out before her. "The rival scouts we observed are methodical," she began. "But their strategy is predictable if we anticipate their movements. Internal disputes, however, are less predictable. They can be exploited by our enemies or weaken the pack's response to threats." One of the council members, a seasoned warrior named Thalen, raised his voice. "We have always relied on strength and loyalty. Why this insistence on mediation and observation? The pack fears weakness." Arya's gaze met his steadily. "Strength without foresight is reckless. Loyalty without guidance is fragile. Observation, strategy, and mediation do not weaken the pack. They ensure that its strength is directed, its loyalty reinforced, and its survival guaranteed." Kale's voice, calm but firm, reinforced her point. "Arya speaks from experience. She has saved my life and ensured the survival of the pack when ambushed. Her methods are not theoretical, they are proven. We will follow her guidance." The council murmured in acknowledgement, some hesitant, others intrigued. Arya continued, presenting a plan to strengthen internal communication, clarify roles, and establish subtle systems for dispute resolution. Every suggestion was strategic, designed not only to prevent disunity but to reinforce the alpha's authority and the cohesion of the pack. By midday, Arya and Kale moved through the stronghold, observing the effects of their interventions. Minor disputes were resolved quickly, tension diffused before it escalated, and the warriors began to operate with renewed focus and trust. Arya noted the changes meticulously, her mind cataloging the effectiveness of each measure. "You have anged the pack," Kale remarked quietly as they walked along the battlements. "They respect you, not out of fear or obligation, but because they see your judgment and wisdom. That is rare." Arya's gaze remained on the horizon. "Respect is earned through action, consistency, and foresight. Influence without substance is fleeting. The pack must operate as a cohesive unit, not merely follow commands blindly." As the sun dipped toward the horizon, a messenger arrived with urgent news. A minor skirmish had erupted near the northern boundary, and scouts reported suspicious activity that suggested rival packs were attempting to exploit perceived weaknesses within Silverfang territory. Kale's expression hardened. Then we respond. The pack's survival depends on swift and precise action. Arya's mind calculated rapidly. We deploy scouts to observe without engagement initially. We anticipate the enemy's movements, set traps along predictable routes, and coordinate patrols to cover vulnerable points. The pack must appear vigilant and unified, but our strength lies in preparation, not reaction alone. Together, they led a coordinated response. Scouts were sent to monitor the perimeter, traps were subtly positioned to hinder movement without alerting the rival forces, and patrols moved in synchronized patterns to reinforce weak points. Every decision reflected Arya's strategic mind and Kale's authority as alpha. The skirmish that followed was brief yet revealing. Rival forces underestimated the Silverfang's preparedness and cohesion. Attempts to exploit perceived weaknesses were thwarted by coordinated defense, strategic countermeasures, and precise observation. Arya's guidance ensured that the pack maintained control without unnecessary confrontation. After the skirmish, Kale addressed the pack. "Today, we have faced both external and internal trials," he said. "We have proven that strength is not only in combat but in foresight, unity, and trust. Arya has guided us through these challenges, and her wisdom has ensured our survival." The pack responded with murmurs of acknowledgement and respect. Arya's calm presence reinforced the Alpha's words, and the bond between protector and leader became more apparent to all present. Later, as the moon rose over the stronghold, Arya and Kale stood atop the battlements, overlooking the forest and the territory beyond. "Internal loyalty is as dangerous as external threats," she said softly. "We have neutralized minor disputes, but vigilance must continue. The pack is strong, but it is only as strong as its cohesion and trust." Kale's eyes softened slightly, though his posture remained firm. "You have earned more than acknowledgement, Arya. Your foresight, courage, and dedication ensure the survival of this pack. I will not allow anything to threaten you, physically or otherwise. That is my promise." Arya's gaze met his, unwavering. "Protection is meaningful only when paired with vigilance. Your promise strengthens the pack as much as it ensures my safety. But I will act as needed, and I will not rely solely on words. Action is what ensures survival." Kale inclined his head. "Then we act together, as we always have, Alpha and Protector, guiding the pack through every challenge, both seen and unseen." Arya's expression remained calm, resolute. "Together. Always." The night stretched on, the forest alive with distant howls and shifting shadows. The trials of loyalty had been faced, tested, and overcome, but Arya and Kale understood that vigilance was perpetual. External threats would continue, internal disputes would arise, and the bond between Alpha and Protector would be the foundation upon which the Silverfang's survival depended. And as the moonlight bathed the stronghold, Arya knew one truth. Survival was never guaranteed, but trust, foresight, and unwavering dedication created a bond stronger than any threat. The trials of loyalty had proven not only the strength of the pack but the growing unbreakable partnership between her and Kale. A partnership built on respect, insight, and a promise that neither would falter in protecting what mattered most. The forest beyond the Silverfang stronghold was restless, the wind carrying a tension that even the most seasoned scouts could not ignore. Arya moved through the trees with silent precision, every sense alert. The ambushes and internal trials had prepared her for vigilance, but this was different. There was a presence in the shadows, a calculated observation, the unmistakable mark of a rival alpha. Kale followed at a measured distance, his posture alert, eyes sharp and scanning the terrain. The alpha had grown to trust her instincts, relying on her foresight as much as his own strength and leadership. Their bond had solidified through trials of survival, loyalty, and strategy, and now faced the first true test against a threat that sought to challenge the Silverfangs directly. "They are close," Arya whispered, her gaze fixed on the forest ahead. "Not scouts. A leader. Someone testing the strength of our pack, measuring weaknesses, and evaluating our defenses." Kale's jaw tightened. "A rival alpha?" "Exactly," she said. "And their intent is clear. They seek advantage, not confrontation. But advantage is gained through manipulation, stealth, and probing attacks. We must be prepared for all possibilities. The tension in the forest was palpable. Every rustle of leaves, every subtle shift in the wind, carried a message. Arya's eyes tracked patterns in the foliage, movements too deliberate to be natural, scents faint but present. They are observing, she said. Testing our response, timing, and vigilance. If we act prematurely, we risk revealing our strategy. Patience is our weapon. Cale's eyes scanned the shadows, his hand resting near the hilt of his sword. Then we wait, but remain ready to act. Their presence cannot go unanswered. Hours passed in careful observation. The rival Alpha moved through the forest with calculated precision, unseen yet evident in the subtle changes in the environment. Arya noted every detail, the position of broken branches, faint footprints, the scent of movement in the wind. She catalogued strategies and contingencies, planning countermeasures with meticulous care. Cale observed her, admiration evident in his gaze. "Your insight surpasses any scout I have known," he said quietly. "Most would overlook even half of what you notice." Arya did not look at him, her attention fixed on the forest. Awareness is survival. Observation without action is useless, and action without foresight is reckless. We survive because we anticipate, not because we react. As dusk approached, the rival Alpha stepped into a natural clearing, momentarily visible against the fading light. Tall, imposing, with an aura of authority and menace, he moved deliberately, surveying the terrain. His gaze swept across the forest, noting the Silverfang stronghold in the distance, calculating distances, and evaluating the strength of its defenses. "They are confident," Arya said, her voice low. "They believe their presence remains undetected. But confidence can be exploited. Every movement they make is predictable if we anticipate correctly." Cale nodded. "Then we set the stage. Every patrol, every trap, every scout movement must be orchestrated to reveal strength, not vulnerability. We show the pack's unity and readiness without revealing our full capabilities." Returning to the stronghold, Arya coordinated adjustments to patrol routes, alarm systems, and defensive positions. Cale reinforced her instructions, ensuring the pack understood not only the tactical adjustments but the strategic reasoning behind them. Together, they were a seamless unit, Alpha and Protector, leader and strategist, each complementing the other's abilities. By nightfall, the rival Alpha's intentions became clearer. Subtle incursions into the territory, probes at vulnerable points, and minor disruptions were evidence of a testing phase, a calculation to determine whether the Silverfangs could be challenged directly. Arya briefed Cale in the strategy chamber. "Their approach is cautious but deliberate. They are seeking weaknesses, physical, strategic, and psychological. We will anticipate every step, reinforce our strong points, and maintain mobility. The pack must respond as a single organism." Cale's gaze was steady, unwavering. "And if they escalate? Then we act decisively," Arya replied. "Not out of fear, but out of strategy. Every move they make can be countered if we remain patient, vigilant, and united." Later, on the battlements, they observed the rival Alpha from a concealed vantage. Moonlight glinted off his form as he moved through the trees, calculating, deliberate, powerful. Arya's eyes tracked every step, her mind mapping potential routes, assessing terrain advantages, and planning contingencies. "He underestimates our unity," she whispered. "That is his weakness. He sees strength in numbers, but cohesion, coordination, and anticipation are far more potent." Cale's hand rested lightly on the stone beside her. "Then we exploit that weakness. We show him that the Silverfangs are not merely strong, but prepared, strategic, and unyielding." The rival Alpha paused, sniffing the air, sensing their presence perhaps, but unable to locate them. Arya's eyes met Cale's briefly. "Patience. Let him test himself against shadows. Every movement he makes reveals intent." The night stretched on, the forest alive with tension, distant rustling, and occasional howls. Arya and Cale remained vigilant, coordinating patrols and monitoring the enemy's subtle actions. The rival Alpha's movements became predictable, allowing Arya to design counter-strategies that would ensure the Silverfang's dominance without direct confrontation, at least for now. "Your foresight is remarkable," Cale said quietly. Every possible outcome has been considered, and the pack's response is flawless. I could not ask for a better guardian, strategist, or partner. Arya inclined her head slightly, her expression calm. A partner is not defined by words, but by action. We act together, anticipate threats, and ensure survival. That is the measure of trust and loyalty. Kale's gaze softened, though his posture remained firm. Then we act as one. Alpha and protector, guiding the pack through every shadow and challenge. Arya's eyes met his. Together. Always. The rival Alpha, frustrated by the lack of progress, withdrew slightly, but not before leaving subtle markers of intent. Traps to test vigilance, disturbances meant to provoke, and movements designed to challenge the pack's cohesion. Arya catalogued every detail, ensuring that every minor tactic could be countered in the days to come. Back in the stronghold, Kale addressed the council. Arrival approaches, testing our territory, our unity, and our vigilance. But we are prepared. Every patrol, every measure, every observation has been guided by insight and strategy. The Silverfangs stand united. Arya's presence reinforced his words, a silent symbol of vigilance and wisdom. The pack understood that survival depended not only on strength, but on foresight, coordination, and the unbroken bond between Alpha and Protector. As dawn approached, the forest was quiet once more. The rival Alpha had retreated, his probing unsuccessful. But the threat remained, a reminder that vigilance was eternal and challenges would continue. On the battlements, Kale and Arya stood together, surveying the forest and the territory they had protected. This is only the beginning, Kale said quietly. External threats will persist, and internal challenges will continue. But with you at my side, I am confident in the pack's survival. Arya's gaze remained steady, scanning the horizon. Confidence is earned, not given. But yes, together, we will face whatever comes. Anticipation, preparation, and vigilance will ensure survival. Kale's hand rested lightly on the stone beside her, a gesture of partnership. Then we face the shadows together. Together. Always, Arya affirmed. The moonlight bathed the stronghold, casting long shadows over the forest. The Silverfangs were vigilant, united, and ready for whatever challenge lay ahead. The rival Alpha was only the first of many threats, but Arya and Kale had proven that strategy, insight, and unshakable trust formed a bond stronger than any adversary. And as the first light of dawn touched the forest, they understood one truth. Survival depended not only on strength but on unity, foresight, and a partnership that could face every shadow, overcome every challenge, and protect the pack for generations to come. The first light of dawn spilled over the Silverfang stronghold, washing the stone walls in soft gold. Arya stood at the edge of the battlements, eyes scanning the distant forest for signs of movement. The previous encounters with rival scouts and the shadow of a rival Alpha had kept the pack on high alert, but there was a new challenge looming, a challenge that came not from outside, but from within. Kale approached silently, his presence steady, unwavering. "You've been quiet," he observed, his voice low, carrying the weight of concern rather than reprimand. "Is something troubling you?" Arya turned her gaze to him, her expression calm yet thoughtful. "There are matters I have kept from the pack, from you," she admitted. Matters that, if revealed, could affect perception, trust, and decisions within the pack. Kale's eyes softened, but his tone remained firm. "Then tell me. Secrets cannot protect you, they only create shadows that grow larger with time. If there is trust between Alpha and Protector, it must be complete." She hesitated, a rare pause for someone who had always acted with precision and clarity. Her past was a tapestry of survival, hardship, and choices made in isolation, choices that had forged her into the capable strategist and guardian she was Toda. Why? Yet those same experiences could create unease or suspicion among the pack. "My past is complicated," Arya began carefully. "I was born beyond the borders of the Silverfang territory, in lands far from the forests and mountains you call home. Circumstances forced me into survival alone, relying on observation, stealth, and skill to navigate dangers both natural and human-made." Kale's gaze remained fixed on her, unwavering. "That does not diminish your abilities. If anything, it explains your foresight and skill. But continue. I was trained by a mentor who taught me strategy, awareness, and the art of anticipating threats before they arise, she said, her tone steady. But that mentor was not without enemies. In my early years, I faced betrayal, loss, and danger that shaped every decision I make today. I learned to trust only when actions proved loyalty, and even then, vigilance remained my constant companion. Kale nodded slowly, processing her words. And yet you have chosen to stand with the Silverfangs, despite having no obligation, no bond beyond your own decision. That is courage and wisdom combined. Arya's eyes softened briefly. I chose to stand here because necessity demanded it, not sentiment. But necessity often aligns with principle. Protecting the pack is logical, it ensures stability, survival, and strength. But I would be lying if I said there were not attachments forming. Attachments are not weakness, they are recognition of value. Kale's gaze sharpened, a mixture of respect and concern evident. Attachments, then, are understood. But they do not compromise your judgment? Never, Arya replied firmly. My actions remain guided by reason, foresight, and necessity. But understanding the past, understanding the weight carried by those who act alone, informs decisions, loyalty, and alliances. That is why I stand where I do, and why I observe what I do. Kale's expression softened further. Then your past strengthens your purpose. I am aware now that trust in you is not blind, it is informed by understanding your experiences, your skills, and your unwavering commitment to vigilance. Arya inclined her head slightly, acknowledging his words. Trust is reciprocal. I trust your decisions, your judgment, and your commitment to the pack. But a bond without clarity is fragile. That is why I reveal my past, not for forgiveness, approval, or gratitude, but for clarity. Kale took a step closer, his presence commanding yet protective. Then know this. Whatever shadows your past casts, I will ensure they do not threaten your present or your role within the pack. You have proven your value beyond question. And now, with knowledge of your past, that bond is stronger, not weakened. A silence settled between them, not uncomfortable, but laden with mutual understanding. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying distant sounds of the forest, yet their focus remained on the unspoken acknowledgement of loyalty, respect, and trust. Your experiences make you vigilant, Kale continued. But they also make you essential. We have faced external threats, internal trials, and the shadow of a rival alpha. You have guided every response with precision and foresight. Now, with your past understood, I promise that your protection is absolute, not because of obligation, but because your survival is critical to the pack's continued strength. Arya's eyes met his, unwavering. Protection is only meaningful when paired with vigilance. Words alone are insufficient. Actions ensure survival. And actions will follow, Kale replied firmly. Every measure will be taken to safeguard you. Not out of sentiment, but necessity. And necessity is the foundation of trust. As they spoke, a messenger arrived from the forest outskirts, reporting subtle signs of the rival alpha's continued presence. Arya analyzed the information quickly, noting patterns in movement, faint tracks, and disturbances in the terrain. They are close, she murmured. Testing us, probing for weaknesses, yet unaware of the depth of our preparation. Their approach is deliberate, calculated, but predictable. Kale's eyes narrowed. Then we must continue anticipation. Every patrol, every response, every observation must align with strategy. And you will guide it. I will, Arya replied. Not because you command it, but because it is necessary. Preparation ensures survival. Strategy ensures cohesion. And vigilance ensures the pack endures. Together, they devised adjustments to the stronghold's defenses, subtle shifts in patrols, and reinforcement of vulnerable points. Every action reflected Arya's insight and Kale's authority as alpha. The bond between them, fortified by the revelation of her past, became more tangible, though unspoken. As dusk approached, Arya and Kale ascended the battlements, overlooking the territory. The rival alpha's presence remained a shadow, testing, observing, yet unaware of the Silverfang's unity and preparation. You see clearly, Kale said quietly. Every movement, every threat, every potential weakness. Your past has forged insight that is unmatched. Arya's gaze remained steady on the forest below. Insight is forged through survival, experience, and vigilance. Every trial, every shadow faced, has prepared me for this. The past informs the present. The present ensures the future. Cale's expression softened, the weight of responsibility and admiration evident. Then know this. Whatever shadows may linger, whatever threats may emerge, you will never face them alone. I will ensure your protection, your place within the pack, and the security of the bond we share, Alpha and Protector, together. Arya inclined her head, acknowledgement and resolve clear in her eyes. Together. Always. The moon rose over the stronghold, casting silver light across the battlements. The forest beyond was alive with distant howls, subtle rustlings, and the lingering presence of unseen rivals. Yet within the Silverfang stronghold, clarity, trust, and unwavering commitment formed an unbreakable foundation. Arya's past, once a shadow she carried alone, had become a source of strength, insight, and unity. Cale's promise, unwavering and informed, had reinforced the partnership that had grown from necessity, vigilance, and trust. And as the night deepened, the Silverfang pack remained prepared, their strength rooted not only in skill and numbers but in the bond between Alpha and Protector. A bond forged through survival, solidified by revelation, and strengthened by unshakable trust. The morning air was heavy with tension. The forest beyond the Silverfang stronghold seemed unusually quiet, the usual rustle of wildlife muted, as if nature itself sensed the approaching storm. Arya stood atop the battlements, eyes scanning the horizon. The rival Alpha, whose presence had lingered like a shadow, was no longer merely testing, they were advancing. Cale joined her silently, his presence a steadying force. Reports indicate they are moving quickly, he said. Numbers unknown, tactics unclear. But their intent is obvious, they intend to challenge the Silverfangs directly. Arya's expression was calm, though her mind raced through scenarios and countermeasures. Then we must act before they strike. Preparation, strategy, and foresight are our weapons. The pack's survival depends not on reaction, but on anticipation. Cale nodded. And you will guide us. Your insight has proven invaluable. Together, they moved through the stronghold, coordinating patrols, reinforcing weak points, and setting subtle traps designed to hinder the rival pack without revealing the full extent of Silverfang's strength. Arya's mind was a whirlwind of calculations, terrain advantages, probable approaches, potential ambush points, and escape routes. Every detail mattered. By midday, the first signs of the rival pack appeared. Distant movement through the forest, subtle disturbances in the foliage, and the occasional howl carried on the wind. Arya analyzed every detail, cataloging their tactics, predicting their approach, and adjusting Silverfang positions accordingly. They are testing for vulnerabilities, she murmured. But their arrogance is their weakness. Every step they take reveals their strategy, every hesitation indicates uncertainty. We will exploit this. Cale's hand rested briefly on her shoulder, a silent acknowledgement of trust and partnership. Then we show them the strength of foresight, preparation, and unity. The Silverfangs will not falter. As the rival pack emerged into the clearing near the northern boundary, Arya directed the Silverfangs' movements with precision. Scouts took elevated positions, patrols formed coordinated patterns, and traps were subtly activated to slow and confuse the intruders. The Silverfangs operated as a single organism, each member aware of their role, each action guided by strategy. The rival Alpha, imposing and confident, advanced cautiously, assessing the Silverfang defenses. Yet even their careful approach could not counter Arya's anticipation. Every subtle move, every probing advance, was met with a calculated response, frustrating and delaying their progress. Cale observed from the battlements, issuing clear, measured commands. Hold positions. Observe. Respond only when necessary. We do not react, we anticipate. Arya's eyes never left the forest. Their scouts are attempting to flank. Send reinforcements to the eastern ridge. Set subtle alarms to warn of further movement. Keep the central clearing under observation. Every step they take will be countered strategically. As the afternoon sun dipped toward the horizon, the rival pack attempted a more direct approach, pressing into the Silverfang territory. Yet every advance was anticipated, every maneuver countered. Arya's strategic genius became evident to the Silverfang warriors. The coordinated response, the careful positioning, and the subtle traps made the rivals hesitate, their confidence wavering. Kale's voice rang clear across the battlements. Stand firm. Follow every instruction. Trust the strategy and trust each other. The rival Alpha roared a challenge, signaling their intent to engage directly, but Arya's analysis revealed the opportunity. They overextend, she said. Divide forces at the ridge. Concentrate on the center. Use flanking scouts to contain movement. Do not allow chaos, they must be guided into controlled zones. The Silverfangs executed flawlessly. Movement was precise, coordination seamless. The rival pack found themselves delayed, trapped in zones of Silverfang influence, every advance countered by foresight and preparation. The battlefield became a testament to strategy over raw force, intellect over aggression. Kale moved among the warriors, a figure of authority and calm. His presence reinforced Arya's instructions, each command delivered with clarity, ensuring the pack acted as one. Every measure reflected their combined partnership, Alpha and Protector, strategist and leader, guiding the Silverfangs through danger without unnecessary risk. Hours passed with the rival pack testing, probing, and attempting to challenge the Silverfangs' territory. Rye effort was met with resistance, anticipation, and coordination. Arya's mind catalogued every movement, every hesitation, every subtle error. By the time night fell, the rival pack had been contained, forced to retreat with minimal engagement, unable to breach the Silverfang defenses. Kale surveyed the field, pride evident in his expression. The pack stands unbroken, guided by strategy, foresight, and unity. This is a victory not of force alone, but of preparation and trust. Arya's eyes softened slightly, the weight of the day evident in her posture. Survival is measured not by aggression, but by anticipation. The Silverfangs endured because every decision was deliberate, every action calculated, and every member trusted the plan. Kale stepped beside her on the battlements, his gaze sweeping over the forest. You have proven once more that your guidance is invaluable. Without you, the pack would have faced unnecessary risk. With you, we endure, we thrive, and we are prepared for whatever comes next. Arya inclined her head. The future is uncertain, but preparation and vigilance mitigate risk. We act not for glory, but for survival. Every challenge strengthens the pack, every threat reinforces unity, and every partnership, between Alpha and Protector, ensures continuity. The night settled over the Silverfang stronghold, quiet yet vigilant. Scouts reported minimal movement from the rival pack, confirming retreat. Yet the experience served as a reminder that threats were constant, and survival depended not on strength alone, but on strategy, trust, and unwavering vigilance. Kale's gaze softened as he looked at Arya. You have become essential, not merely to the pack, but to me. Your insight, your vigilance, and your loyalty ensure that we endure. I will not allow any threat to reach you. Arya's expression remained calm, yet there was acknowledgement in her eyes. Protection is only meaningful when paired with awareness and action. I will act as needed, and I will rely on preparation and foresight. Words alone do not ensure survival. Kale inclined his head. Then we act together, Alpha and Protector, guiding the pack through every challenge. Together. Always, Arya affirmed. The moon rose over the stronghold, casting silver light across the battlements and the forest beyond. The Silverfang pack had faced its first true external challenge under Arya's guidance and Kale's leadership, and survived unbroken. The battle had not been one of brute force, but of strategy, foresight, and unshakable partnership. And as the night deepened, Arya and Kale understood one truth. The Silverfangs would endure, not because threats would cease, but because trust, preparation, and the bond between Alpha and Protector would guide them through every shadow, every trial, and every challenge yet to come. The dawn light spilled over the Silverfang stronghold, painting the stone walls with gold and amber. The forest beyond remained still, the silence almost deceptive, as though nature itself paused in anticipation of the challenges that lay ahead. Arya moved through the courtyard, her senses alert to every subtle shift in the air. The events of the previous attack had left the pack vigilant, but she knew that true survival required more than strategy, it required unity. Kale joined her, his presence steady and commanding. The rival Alpha will not relent, he said, his voice low but carrying authority. Their probing is becoming more deliberate, their attempts to test our cohesion more frequent. The pack must be prepared, not only for external threats but for the challenges that internal doubt and fear can bring. Arya's gaze swept over the assembled warriors, each member aware of her scrutiny. Unity is forged through trust, shared purpose, and clear understanding of roles. Without it, even the strongest pack can falter when faced with coordinated opposition. We must ensure that loyalty is steadfast, and that every member understands the value of cohesion. Kale nodded. And you will guide them? Not merely guide, Arya replied, but demonstrate, reinforce, and ensure that every action reflects purpose. The Silverfangs must operate as a single organism, each part aware of the others, each decision informed by strategy and foresight. She began with small exercises, observing interactions, communication, and coordination among the pack members. Subtle competitions, drills, and simulations highlighted strengths and weaknesses, revealing areas where trust could falter under pressure. Arya catalogued every detail, her mind calculating adjustments and interventions to ensure cohesion. Kale watched her work with measured admiration. You command without force, lead without dominance, and inspire without fear. Few could achieve such harmony among so many. Arya's eyes remained on the pack. Leadership is measured by results, not authority. Cohesion is forged through shared purpose, clarity of roles, and recognition of individual strengths within the collective. Fear may ensure obedience, but trust ensures survival. As the day progressed, Arya implemented coordinated drills designed to simulate rival attacks. Warriors moved in precise patterns, practicing flanking, containment, and rapid response. Mistakes were corrected with guidance, not punishment. Every drill reinforced not only tactical skill but the understanding that unity was the pack's most potent weapon. Midday brought word from scouts. The rival Alpha's forces had been observed gathering near a secondary ridge, suggesting an imminent attempt to exploit terrain advent. Ages. Arya's eyes narrowed as she absorbed the details. They seek to divide us, to exploit weak points, she murmured. But their approach is predictable. We will use their overconfidence against them. Kale's expression hardened. Then we prepare. Every measure, every patrol, every observation must be precise. The pack's unity will be their undoing. Together, they adjusted positions across the stronghold, ensuring that every potential vulnerability was reinforced. Arya directed subtle traps and observation points, while Kale coordinated the warriors' positions, reinforcing both strategy and morale. Every detail reflected their combined leadership, her insight, his authority, ensuring the Silverfangs were prepared for the rival Alpha's advance. As dusk approached, the rival forces emerged, confident and deliberate, expecting to exploit weakness. Yet every movement they made was anticipated, countered, and mitigated by the Silverfangs' coordinated response. Drills, communication, and reinforced positions ensured that no incursion went unchallenged. The rival Alpha roared a challenge, signaling an attempt to disrupt the Silverfangs' cohesion. But the pack moved as one, coordinated and precise, every action reinforcing unity. Subtle traps slowed advances, flanking patrols guided the opposition into predictable zones, and observation points allowed for rapid response to shifts in strategy. Kale moved among the warriors, ensuring clarity and execution, while Arya's instructions flowed seamlessly across the battlements. Their partnership was evident, not in gestures or declarations, but in the flawless execution of strategy. The Silverfangs were an organism, every part functioning in harmony, every member aware of their role, every action purposeful. Hours passed with careful coordination, the rival Alpha testing, probing, and attempting to fracture the pack. Yet every attempt was met with strategic resistance, every maneuver anticipated, every advance countered. Unity proved stronger than aggression, cohesion stronger than individual strength. As the night deepened, Kale addressed the pack. You have faced the rival's tests and endured. Your cohesion, trust, and preparation have ensured the safety of the stronghold. Strength lies not only in power, but in unity. Remember this in every challenge you face. Arya's presence reinforced his words, her calm and focused demeanor a reminder of vigilance and foresight. The pack understood that survival was not merely about combat, but about trust, coordination, and unwavering dedication to shared purpose. Later, on the battlements, Kale and Arya observed the forest and the fading signs of the rival Alpha's forces. Unity has been proven tonight, Kale said quietly. The Silverfangs are prepared, coordinated, and steadfast. Your guidance has ensured cohesion. Arya's gaze remained on the horizon. Unity is maintained through constant vigilance. Threats may test loyalty, patience, and coordination, but clarity of purpose and trust reinforce strength. The pack endures because every member understands the value of their role and the importance of acting as one. Kale's hand rested lightly on the stone beside her, a gesture of partnership. Then we continue together, Alpha and Protector, guiding the Silverfangs through every challenge. Together, always, Arya affirmed. The moon rose over the stronghold, casting silver light over the battlements and forest. The Silverfangs had faced the rival Alpha's attempts to divide and weaken them, and emerged unified and unbroken. The day's trials had tested strategy, coordination, and trust, but the bond between Arya and Kale had strengthened further, a silent testament to their combined leadership. And as the night deepened, Arya knew one truth. The strength of the Silverfang pack was not measured solely by its warriors, but by cohesion, trust, and the unshakable partnership between the Alpha and the Protector. A bond that would guide them through every shadow, every challenge, and every trial yet to come. The forest beyond the Silverfang stronghold had grown restless. Birds had vanished from the canopy, and the wind carried an eerie stillness, signaling the approach of a challenge far greater than any the pack had faced before. Arya moved through the battlements, eyes sharp, senses attuned to every shift in the air. The rival Alpha, whose presence had lingered like a shadow for days, was preparing a direct confrontation. Kale joined her silently, his aura calm yet commanding. They are no longer testing, he said. Every indication points to a decisive strike. This will not be a minor probe, it is an attempt to claim advantage, territory, or dominance. We must respond with precision. Arya's expression remained composed, though her mind was racing through countless tactical scenarios. Then we must anticipate every move, control every variable, and maintain cohesion. The pack survives not because of strength alone, but because of preparation and trust. Kale's gaze swept across the forest. And you will guide the Silverfangs? Not guide, coordinate, anticipate, and protect, Arya replied. Every member must act with awareness of the others. Every action must reinforce unity. That is our advantage. The rival Alpha's forces emerged from the tree line, confident and deliberate, expecting to encounter a disorganized defense. Yet every step they took was anticipated, every movement countered by Silverfang strategy. Arya's eyes tracked patterns, distances, and terrain advantages, ensuring that the pack's response was both precise and cohesive. Kale moved among the warriors, issuing commands that reinforced Arya's guidance. Hold positions. Observe and respond, not react. Trust your instincts, but follow strategy. Arya's instructions flowed seamlessly across the battlements and through the ranks. Scouts reported enemy movements, flanking attempts, and subtle probing maneuvers, and each was met with calculated countermeasures. Subtle traps delayed advances, observation points allowed rapid adjustments, and patrols shifted positions to control zones without overexposing the Silverfang's strength. The rival Alpha, towering and confident, roared a challenge from the forest edge, signaling the intent to engage directly. Yet even in this confrontation, every action he took revealed weaknesses, overextensions, and predictable patterns. Arya catalogued each, planning contingencies that would neutralize aggression without unnecessary risk to the pack. Hours passed as tension mounted. The rival Alpha attempted to divide the Silverfangs, probing defenses and testing coordination. But the pack moved as one, executing strategies with precision. Arya's foresight, combined with Kale's decisive commands, ensured that every maneuver was countered and every threat mitigated. Kale watched from the battlements, pride evident in his expression. The pack stands firm. Unity and preparation prevail where brute force alone fails. Arya's gaze remained on the forest. Strength is not the absence of threat, but the anticipation of it. Every calculation, every observation, every coordinated move ensures survival. The rival Alpha, frustrated by repeated failure to breach defenses, attempted a bold frontal engagement. Arya's eyes narrowed, identifying the exact point where the enemy's formation could be isolated. She relayed instructions swiftly. Subtle shifts in patrols, traps triggered at precise moments, and flanking scouts contained the aggressive advance. Kale led the response on the ground, moving with authority among the warriors, reinforcing strategy and morale. His presence was a stabilizing force, ensuring the pack's cohesion remained unbroken even under pressure. The battle of wits and coordination reached its peak as the rival Alpha's forces began to falter under Silverfang precision. Every step they took was countered, every tactic anticipated, until retreat became their only option. Yet the victory was not won through brute force but through unity, preparation, and strategic brilliance. As night fell, Kale addressed the pack. "You have faced the heart of the forest and emerged unbroken. Today proves that survival is not merely about strength, but about unity, foresight, and trust." Every member contributed, every action mattered, and every strategy reinforced cohesion. Arya's presence Bessie. To him was a silent testament to vigilance, insight, and partnership. The pack understood that the bond between Alpha and Protector had guided them through danger and ensured survival. Later, atop the battlements, Kale and Arya observed the quiet forest, the distant signs of the rival Alpha's retreat fading into the darkness. "Your strategy saved lives," Kale said quietly. "Your foresight ensured the pack endured. I could not ask for a more capable protector." Arya's expression was calm, yet her eyes reflected acknowledgement. Survival is ensured through preparation, coordination, and vigilance. The pack endures because every member understands their role and the importance of acting as one. Protection is meaningful only when paired with action and foresight. Kale's hand rested lightly on the stone beside her, a gesture of partnership. "Then we continue together, Alpha and Protector, guiding the Silverfangs through every challenge." "Together. Always," Arya affirmed. The moon cast silver light across the stronghold and forest beyond. The Silverfang pack had faced the rival Alpha's direct challenge and emerged victorious, not through dominance, but through strategy, cohesion, and unwavering partnership. The bond between Kale and Arya had solidified further, a silent yet unbreakable force guiding the pack through every trial. And as the night deepened, Arya knew one truth: the Silverfang's strength was rooted not in individual power alone, but in unity, strategy, and the steadfast partnership between Alpha and Protector. A bond that would face every shadow, every test, and every threat to come. The sun rose over the Silverfang stronghold, painting the stone walls in brilliant gold and highlighting the verdant forests beyond. The trials of the past days, the rival Alpha's attempts, internal disputes, and challenges of loyalty, had tested the pack, its leaders, and their partnership. Yet, as Arya walked through the courtyard, she sensed a calm confidence that only comes from enduring adversity and emerging stronger. Kale approached silently, his presence reassuring, unwavering. "The pack is stronger than ever," he said, his voice carrying authority and pride. "Unity, strategy, and trust have guided us through every challenge. But today is not merely about survival, it is about the legacy we leave." Arya's gaze swept over the Silverfang warriors, each standing with renewed purpose. A legacy is built through guidance, action, and shared understanding. Strength alone does not ensure endurance, cohesion, foresight, and trust do. The pack must be prepared for future generations, for challenges yet unseen. Kale nodded. "And you will guide that preparation?" "I will," Arya replied. "Not because it is demanded, but because it is necessary. The survival and prosper ity of the Silverfangs depend on continuity, clarity, and vigilance." The day was filled with instruction and demonstration. Arya coordinated exercises designed not only to reinforce strategy and tactical skill but to teach younger members the principles of observation, anticipation, and cohesive action. Every warrior learned not only their role but the importance of trust and unity. Kale oversaw the exercises, his presence both commanding and protective. "Remember," he instructed, "strength is amplified through coordination. Strategy ensures survival. Trust binds the pack together. Every action matters." Throughout the day, Arya observed, guided, and adjusted. Her meticulous attention to detail ensured that every potential weakness was addressed, every strength amplified, and every member understood the value of their role. She moved among the pack silently, correcting, instructing, and reinforcing lessons without the need for dominance or fear. By afternoon, the Silverfangs had achieved a level of cohesion and readiness that surpassed any prior standard. The rival Alpha's threats had become a distant memory, their attempts thwarted not through force alone but through preparation, foresight, and partnership. Kale's gaze met Arya's, a silent acknowledgement of their shared accomplishment. "The pack endures because of you," he said quietly. "Your guidance, strategy, and vigilance have ensured not only survival but prosperity. You are indispensable." Arya inclined her head slightly, her expression calm yet resolute. "Indispensable only because the survival of the pack demands it. Every measure, every action, every decision is for the Silverfangs. Trust, unity, and preparation ensure endurance." The sun dipped toward the horizon, casting long shadows over the stronghold and forest beyond. Kale and Arya ascended the battlements, overlooking their territory and the thriving pack below. "The future is ours to shape," Kale said, his voice steady. "Every threat we have faced, every trial we have endured, strengthens the foundation we leave for those who come after us. The Silverfangs will endure because of unity, foresight, and vigilance." Arya's gaze remained on the forest, her mind cataloging lessons, strategies, and observations. Legacy is more than survival, it is the assurance that knowledge, skill, and cohesion are passed forward. The pack will continue because every member understands purpose, trust, and the value of acting as one. Kale's hand rested lightly on the stone beside her, a gesture of partnership, trust, and mutual respect. "Then we continue together, Alpha and Protector, guiding the Silverfangs through every generation, every challenge, and every shadow. Together, always," Arya affirmed. As night fell, the Silverfang stronghold glowed the moonlight. The forest beyond was alive, yet the pack remained vigilant, prepared, and unified. Arya and Kale walked through the courtyard, observing warriors practicing, communicating, and reinforcing cohesion. Every action, every glance, every instruction reflected the lessons learned and the strength of their bond. Kale's voice broke the silence, calm but resolute. "The Silverfangs are more than a pack, they are a legacy. Every warrior, every strategy, every measure ensures endurance. And you, Arya, have been the heart of that legacy. Your vigilance, insight, and loyalty have forged not only survival but prosperity." Arya's eyes softened slightly, acknowledgement clear but subtle. Legacy is not built by a single person. It is the combined effort of many, guided by principle, clarity, and foresight. "I have acted where necessary, but the strength of the pack comes from every member understanding their role, their value, and their place within the collective." Kale's gaze met hers, unwavering. "Then know this, whatever threats arise, whatever shadows approach, I will ensure your protection, your guidance is honored, and your place within the pack is secure. You are essential, not only to the present but to the future of the Silverfangs." Arya inclined her head, a rare moment of acknowledgement passing between them. "Protection is meaningful only when paired with vigilance and action. I will continue to guide, observe, and protect. Together, we ensure survival and prosperity." The moon rose high over the stronghold, silver light spilling across battlements, forest, and pack alike. The Silverfangs had faced trials, threats, and challenges, and had endured unbroken. The bond between Kale and Arya had become a foundation, unshakable and guiding, ensuring that the pack would not only survive but thrive for generations to come. Kale turned to Arya, his expression calm yet filled with conviction. "This is our legacy. Every decision, every strategy, every act of protection ensures the future. Together, we have built something unbreakable, Alpha and Protector, guiding the Silverfangs through every shadow, every challenge, and every generation yet to come. Together, always," Arya repeated, her voice carrying the weight of trust, loyalty, and unshakable commitment. The Silverfang stronghold stood tall beneath the moonlight, a symbol of unity, foresight, and enduring strength. Warriors moved with purpose, patrols maintained vigilance, and the forest beyond whispered with life and energy. The rival Alpha's presence had become a distant memory, their threats neutralized not through dominance alone but through preparation, cohesion, and partnership. And as the night deepened, Arya understood one final truth: the Silverfang's legacy was secure, built not only on strength and skill but on unity, trust, and the unwavering partnership between Alpha and Protector. A bond that would endure every shadow, every test, and every challenge for generations to come. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow for more thrilling adventures and epic tales from the world of alphas, omegas, and destiny.